There's no f***ing light. Bonjour! Hey, motherfucker! So I've been thinking a lot about gratitude recently. I'm a little over 2 years of being into this experiment of being a composer on my own. And I enjoy the workflow. I love working by myself, the freedom to pursue what I want to pursue, learning new things. So overall, it's been amazing. Now, there are some serious downsides. The things that go through and generate income, that ebbs and flows. And you've got to be able to weather those downtimes a little more, which is tough. But I'm grateful for my family and great friends. This year has been a good example of that because I started out the year riding a wave, a lot of really cool projects going on, and I had a few performances that were really exciting. I was learning Maxim SP as part of that for the visual aspects of the performances. Performed at Moogfest in April, and it was awesome. So I was on a real high. Came back, and come May, things just kind of went a little squishy. And a lot of the projects that I thought I had going kind of fell through, which happens. I thought I was going to be working on a long form score later in the summer, had started working on some of the cues, and that kind of got stalled. So the summer was just, it was a bit of a downer. But now things are back on track. The long form score has kicked back into production, so I should be working on that in September. Have a few other really interesting branded content projects that I'm working on with some friends. So there's just, the gears are turning again. And I'm just feeling grateful that I have the fortitude to weather when things aren't going so well, and knowing that's just part of the game. One of the tracks I've been working on recently, the director was saying how he would be open to having some sound design elements within the music, whether it's car engines or clanging things from a bike. And my ears perked up because, as you've probably gathered by now, cycling is a big part of my daily regimen. And I've kind of always wanted to do a deep sampling project and sample everything on the bike and create percussion sounds, rhythmic loops, even granular type pads from the spokes. So this was an excuse for me to take a couple days to really do it right and do a lot of different sounds. So the actual recording was, pretty straightforward, and I won't get into all the details of that, but I used a variety of elements from Q-tips really softly on the spokes to pencils to metal. And, the spokes will make different pitches. So it's really quiet. You've got the Q-tip, I think, going on there all the way to pencil. But those are notes that I was then able to spread out and make a playable instrument. So you can hear it starts out with the Q-tip and then kind of gets into the harder pencil. Almost sounds like a steel drum. So that's kind of cool. And then I have one that's more metallic. Okay, and then I did something you'll hear a lot in electronic music is when they take like a kick drum and it starts looping and looping faster and gets so fast that it becomes its own note. So I wanted to try that technique. So this is just some percussive hit on the frame or something. But if you hold it down, it starts to loop. And then modulation wheel speeds up the loop until it becomes a tuned note. So it's a cool effect. I ended up not using that in the track I was ultimately going to work on with this, but that's something that'll be useful down the road. And then I have a variety of kind of loops that are from the wheels spinning or the gears turning. So it's just the wheel turning, you know, the whole thing that you used to do as a kid with the cards and the spokes. Different loops. It's kind of cool when you slow them down. That one had a metal drop in it, which I thought was kind of cool. So I just made a bunch of those. It's got the different changing pitches to it. The gears rotating. So did a bunch of those. And then I had previously, for the piano book project, I sampled one of my modules that I love a lot that has kind of this very organic but noisy, it's a wavetable module called the Cycle Box, as you can see on the art I created. So I went back and revisited that, added some more controls to it. I was going through different layers based on velocity, and I changed it so that now it's using the mod wheel or control. So it starts out kind of mellow. It's got a filter, and then the chorus can add kind of a vibrato to it. And then it morphs through increasingly, starts to sound almost like an organ, and then gets deeper and distorted. So it gets pretty nasty. So it's a cool dramatic pad, and I've been using it quite a lot. So anyways, I created, it's kind of surprising. I got into the scripting part of this, and it was surprising how much scripting was involved just to create those basic controls. But so I have this template that I created for that pad, pulled it up through some bike sounds in there to create a pad out of the spokes. And for that, I ran the spokes through I stretched them, time stretched them, and then just, you know, faded in and out and did various processes to them, bit crushing. And so this is one layer. Here's another layer. Tremolo, little altar boy probably pitching it. And then here's another layer, bit crushing. And it's got a crystallizer on this one. That's the Sound Toys crystallizer. And then the last one I think is filtered, so it's low, more rumbly. Right? So I've got those happening. So why don't I'm going to put a pause in it. We'll switch over to the actual track then once I'd created this little library of sounds that I worked on with it. So we'll pull that up. Okay. All right. So we're back. So we're in the session now with the project that I was working on, and this is I had the template from the pad sound I made for the Cycle Box. So now I've loaded those various drones and pads I made from the spokes into the same template here, and see what I came up with. So So it starts there, and then it kind of morphs through. It gets lower, and then it starts to get crystallized. Filter. So, really liking how that turned out. So that's going to be really useful. So that's going on. And then I also recorded my car, and I used this program, this plugin called Dust, which is kind of a granular sort of thing. And I made this, and I made this kind of rhythmic sound out of the car engine revving. I won't get into how I did that exactly, but it's basically the car loaded in and doing this granular process within Dust. So we've got that going on, and then I have both. I use the spoke pad, and that sounds like this, right? And I doubled that with the original Cycle Box pad. Almost sounds like an organ. Okay, and then for the bike things, so kind of a rollicking rhythm that's a little herky-jerky. So, but I liked the way it was feeling. You'll hear it once I play the whole track. And then it used this combination of bike sounds. More percussive hits from the bike. And then I got into this. So for some of them, it was just one loop sample playing over, but I also used contact in that mode where you can have it slice and then spit out the notes and play each slice individually if you want it a little more tight. So that's a little more right on the beat, getting split out of contact. So anyways, and then I'll show you kind of in context a little bit. I'm going to put this whole track up on SoundCloud. I'm not going to play through the whole thing, but I'll show you some of the sections so you can hear how the sound design stuff was kind of fitting in behind some of this more traditional instrumentation. So that's the engine motor. And you hear the pads kind of creeping behind. That's kind of that herky-jerky. So you get the idea. It's just kind of melded within the track, both those pads and the other things. I think while I'm here, though, I'm going to show you some string arranging I did. I end up doing this a lot where I put strings within more of a pop context. And this is a lot of, this is the Spitfire Angular strings and the British Drama strings, and then a lot of the studio strings, I think. But I'll play some of that so you can hear what's going on with that. That's the studio strings. Really bitey and aggressive, kind of over the top. because I wanted it to cut through this, all the drums and things that are happening. And then for this breakdown, I used the angular strings, or not. There we go. It's cool because the strings kind of have different weird motion to them, so it doesn't sound like a static note. So at the end, all the strings are kind of doing this. Those angular strings over the top. Anyways, so that's basically what's going on. If you want to hear the whole track, I'll link it somewhere to the SoundCloud. But it was fun. I was happy with how it turned out, and I'm gonna go back, revisit the artwork and interfaces for all the bike sounds, and then I'll probably throw it online somewhere if you want to download all of it eventually. But that's it for today. Thank you.